Hi everyone, welcome to Random CS by Aish. So, when you're starting to learn web app development or mobile app development, the first thing that you learn is how to develop the UI. And the next step is how to get data from the internet and then display it on the app. So, this getting data from the internet is called as API integration. So, in this video, we are going to see what REST APIs are, how do they work, how do they look like, and a small tutorial on Postman, which is a tool used to store and test the APIs. API stands for Application Programming Interface. So, think API is basically a waiter at a restaurant. So, when you go to a restaurant, you don't directly go to the kitchen and get your food, right? You give the order to the waiter, and then the waiter goes to the kitchen and tells order to the chef. So, here API is basically a waiter. Now, what is this REST? So, REST is nothing but a set of rules that every application must follow when it's getting data from the internet. So, your waiter has set of rules, has set of steps that he needs to do for sure when he's taking the order. So, first he'll come to your table, then he'll give out menus, then he'll take out a book and he'll take your order, and then he takes it back to the kitchen and submits to the chef. So, this is how the REST APIs work. So they have a set of rules. REST APIs are short form of RESTful APIs. Now these REST APIs follow a request response communication. For example, you are sending a message to your friend saying, "Hey, what's up?" And then your friend looks at your message, reads it, processes it, and then replies back to you saying, "Hey, nothing much." So the sending message and getting reply back is how your APIs work. So your application sends a request to the server asking for something, and then the server processes your request and sends back a response. For example, if you open a shopping app and you enter black pants, and once you hit the search button, your app sends a request to the server, and then the server looks for all the data, like look for all the products related to black pants, and then it sends back the products, and then you display the products on your app. So this is how APIs communicate. Your backend developer develops the APIs and he gives it to you. Now your job is to understand what the API syntax is. Now what is the syntax? Let's try to break down the API URL syntax and then understand each part of it. The first thing is methods. So in API methods, we have 4 methods, and the first one is get. So get API call is used to fetch a resource. So if you want to get some kind of information or some kind of data, then we use this get API call. Now let's take the example of black pants. So when I'm hitting the search button is basically calling the get API call, and it's trying to get all the information related to black pants. Next we have post API call. Post is to create a resource. For example, you are creating your Instagram account and then you put your name, email, phone number, and then you click on create account. So when you are hitting create account, it's basically calling a post API call, and your server is going to check if all of your details are correct. And then if it's correct, your server is sending you back a response saying account created successfully. So this is how post API call works. Next we have put. So put is to basically update a resource. You have an Instagram account already. You just changed your phone number recently and you want to update that phone number. So you go to your profile, you put your new phone number, and then you click on update profile. So when you click on update profile, it's going to call a put API call, and then it's basically updating your phone number in the record. So the first thing that we need to understand is, like, post is to create an entirely new resource and put is to update an existing resource. We have delete API call. So in delete API call, we are deleting a resource. So we are entirely erasing a resource from the database. So when you are trying to delete your Instagram account, you click on delete account, and your delete account is going to call this delete API call, and it's going to delete your record from the database. Now we have base URL. Base URL is the main address of the API. So it's like the root address of your API. So think of it as an entrance, like a main entrance to the building. So any API that is developed afterwards will have this root address as its starting part. So if you can see here, this till v1, this entire thing is called as the base URL. Next, we have endpoints. So endpoints are basically specific locations or paths that you usually take to represent a resource. So each endpoint is like a room in a building, like living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, etc. So in here, if you see here, this API has an endpoint called accounts. So if we try to think and if we figure out, we can see that this accounts endpoint is something related to accounts APIs. So if this, for example, if in this URL, if I give slash transactions, then it's all the APIs related to transactions will be stored at that endpoint. Next, we have path parameters. So path parameters are included in the URL itself. So for example, you are trying to fetch a record. So in this example, if you see 21, this 21 is basically a path parameter, and this 21 may be the ID of the user. So this API is basically calling to get the record of the user who has 21 as his user ID. Then we have query parameters. So query parameters are like filters. So if you want to filter out some kind of information, then you send this query parameter to the URL, and then it's going to fetch and filter that kind of information, and then it sends back the response. So we see here the ID is the key and 21 is the value. So usually query parameters are represented as key value pairs, and it starts with question mark. And query parameters can be single or they can be multiple. So if it's multiple parameters, then we just put an and symbol in between them, and then we give the key value pair again. Now we have request body. So if you remember the Instagram create account example, when I am creating the account, I'm putting some information, right? Like name, phone number, and email. So when I'm clicking on create account, I'm sending some kind of information to the server. So I'm sending some kind of input to the server. So this input is called as request body. Now, yes, your server is happy with your request and your server sends back a response. So the response may look something like this. I mean, this is not the exact structure. It depends on your backend developer, but it will look something like this. Then we have response status codes. Okay, your response and request was okay, and your server is happy. Then it's going to send back a status code, which is 200 and above. So if the status code is 200 and above, and then that means everything is good. If the status code is 400 and above, then that means there's something wrong at the server side. So the most common 400 and above errors that we see is 404 not found. So if you're not able to access a certain link, then you see this error, right? So there's something wrong at the server side itself. If we see 500 and above status code, then it's something wrong with your request itself. Then comes the headers. So headers are usually some additional things that we add to our API requests. So the most common are content type and auth token. So content type is basically nothing but telling the API that I'm sending this kind of information to you. So in our post API call, we gave key value pairs, right? Like name, and then phone number, and then phone number value. So this key value pair is basically JSON format. So we are telling the API that I'm going to send JSON kind of format data to you. And then we have auth token. Auth token is nothing but a token which gets generated when you log in. So for example, if you know about the timeout, you log in into an application, like into a website, and after some time, if you don't do anything, it gets timed out, right? So when you log in, you are actually generating a token for yourself, and after some time this token gets deleted, this token gets expired, and then you get logged out of the application. So usually these are predefined, and we write these additional things just to make sure that our APIs are successfully integrated. Now let's begin with Postman tutorial. Postman is a really nice tool to store and test your APIs. After your backend developer gives it to you, you need to check if those APIs work or not, right? For that, we use Postman. Let's download Postman. Based on your operating system, it's going to show up something like this. I use a Mac Apple chip. I'm going to click on this. So I already downloaded the Postman, so I'm not going to download it again. And to use Postman, let's see if we have any dummy APIs available. And one of the best websites that usually beginners or people use to learn about APIs, or if they want to integrate in their application, this is the website. This website has few APIs that if you want to use in your applications, they have a really nice guide as well on how to use these APIs. For today, I'm going to use another website. And this is the website I'm going to use. If you see this website, it has APIs which are something related to employees and employee data. And if you see all the API URLs, you'll be able to figure out what are the endpoints, if there are any path parameters or query parameters, and if there is any like what's the base URL in this. And if you figure out this entire line is actually common, so this is what our base URL is. And they also gave a few details on how it works. So this is how their response is going to look like. And if you see, there's a status which has success, data, like a list of employees and everything. Now let's try to save all these APIs in our Postman. So after you download Postman, it's going to look something like this, and it may ask you for login. If you can use any account you want. Let's save these APIs in our Postman. And in the Postman, I'm going to first create a collection. Collection is nothing but a group of APIs. If you want to keep at one place, if you want to group them together and keep at one place, then we use collection. I'm going to create a new collection. And in this collection, I'm going to add a request. And if we go back, we can see that till V1, it's the base URL. Let's try first this API call. And it says that it's a get API call, and it's to get all employee data. And for this request, I'm going to add a description saying get all employee data. And as we know, till here it's the base URL, right? So I'm going to save it as a variable, and I'm going to name it as base URL. So saving this like this, as it's going to be constant for every API, saving this is actually easier. You don't have to type it again and again, and nothing goes wrong. If you hover on it, you can see what the base URL is. And we know that it's a get call, and this is what the endpoint is mentioned in this website. Now I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to click on send. If you see here, it gave us back a response, and it has something as status, data, and data is list of employees, and each employee has an ID, name, salary, age, and a profile image. And in the end, they also gave us a message that all records has been fetched. If you see here, there is a status code which is 200. That means the request was successful. Now let's try another get call, and they have a get call like this, which is to get a single employee data, And if you see here, 1 is given in the path, URL path itself, that means it's a path parameter. I'm going to create new request. I'm going to name it as get single employee, and I know that it's a base URL and it has employee, then it has 1. So if just to double check, yes, this has v1, then we have a slash employee slash 1, and now let's see how it works. Perfect. So if you see here, you can see that this API call fetched an employee who has ID as 1, and it says record has been fetched, and the status code is also 200. Okay, now let's try the post call. So as we remember, post call is to create a resource. So here we are creating a new employee in the database. So this is the API call, and let's see what he says, like how do we need to give a request body. So if you remember, we are entering something and then we are creating an employee, right? So that input that we are sending is the request body, and in this website he gave us an example saying this is how we have to send the request body. Now first let me copy paste this, and I'm going to create a new request, and we know that it's to create an employee. I'm going to say create an employee, and as it's a post call, I'm going to change it to post, and I'm going to say create. And he said that we have to send an input body, right? I'm going to do that, we need to click on body, and these are the different forms on how you want it to look like. I'm going to click on raw, and then I'm going to type, like change the type as JSON, and I'm going to copy paste this. Sorry, I'm going to copy paste this here, and just to make it look good, I'm going to click on beautify. This is going to change the indentation and everything, and it looks everything looks good to me. So I'm going to click on send. Perfect. If you see, it says that a record has been added, and the status code is also 200, so everything should be good now. Now there is another API call which is a put call, and if you remember, put is to basically update an employee, so that's what they're saying, update an employee record. And even in update, we are updating some particular field, right? Either I'm updating my name or my salary or my age. So in here as well, we need to send the input body, which is the request body, and then it has update and 21. I'm going to create a new request, and I know it's to update an employee. Giving these descriptions is just easier to understand. If you see here, get all employee data, single employee, so you can easily like locate that particular API. And then I'm going to change the to put call, and I know that it's base URL, then it's update, then it's 21 or 1, I don't remember. Yeah, it's 21. So I'm going to try 21, and 21 is nothing but a path parameter. So so this means that we are trying to update a record of an employee who has user ID as 21. And here also we have to send the body. I'm going to click on raw and then JSON. Then I'm going to go to the details, get this and this, click on beautify, and I'm going to make it 100 just in case, and I'm going to save this, and let's see if this works or not. Perfect. If you see, the status code is 200 and the name is test, but the salary got updated to 100. It was 123 before, age is the same as 23, and it says that record has been updated. Next, we are going to try delete API call. So delete API call also has 2 as the path parameter. It's going to delete an employee totally. I'm going to create a request again, and I know that it's to delete an employee, and I'm going to make this as delete, and I know that it's base URL, and then it's delete and path parameter 2, and I'm going to click on save. Let's see if this works. Okay, so this is says too many requests. Looks like we because we used this website a lot, it's saying that it's too many requests. But if you try it on your own, it will work. So after this video, try to go to this website or any other website like JSON placeholder and everything, and try to create your own collection and uh, put all the APIs and test them on your own. So this is how Postman works. So all the APIs are at one place. You can test them whenever you want. And if you, as a developer, you need to understand the response, the request body, and everything. And if you store them here at one place, it will be easier for you to integrate your APIs. Now, Postman is not only limited to this, it has a lot of features, and also you can create your own mock server. So you can create your own base URL, you can create your own APIs, and you can integrate them on your application, and you can use it anytime you want. So this is the Postman tutorial. Hope you like it, and keep watching.